Welcome to Tabo Eminent Channel. Religious leaders, scientists, and even a hen, or so it seemed, have been making predictions for the end of the world almost as long as the world has been around. They've predicted the destruction of the world through floods, fires, and comets. Luckily for us, none of it has come to pass. Thanks for watching. Request you to subscribe the channel. 2012 Maya apocalypse. December 21, 2012, marked the end of the first great cycle of the Maya long count calendar. Many misinterpreted this to mean an absolute end to the calendar, which tracked time continuously from a date 5,125 years earlier, and doomsday predictions emerge. End-of-the-world scenarios included the Earth colliding with an imaginary planet called Nibiru, giant solar flares, a planetary alignment that would cause massive tidal catastrophes, and a realignment of Earth's axis. Preparations for the end of the world as we know it included a modern-day Noah's Ark built by a man in China and extensive sales of survival kits. The 2012 Maya apocalypse was a widespread belief that the world would end on December 21, 2012, based on the end date of the Maya long count calendar. However, this belief was a misunderstanding of the calendar, which simply marked the end of a cycle, not the end of the world. The date was not a prediction of a cataclysm, but rather a marking of the end of an era and the potential beginning of a new one. Harold Camping, among the most prolific modern predictors of end times, Harold Camping has publicly predicted the end of the world as many as 12 times based his interpretations of biblical numerology. In 1992, he published a book, ominously titled 1994, which predicted the end of the world sometime around that year. Perhaps his most high-profile prediction was for May 21, 2011, a date that he calculated to be exactly 7,000 years after the biblical flood. When that date passed without incident, he declared his math to be off and pushed back the end of the world to October 21, 2011. True Way Taiwanese religious leader Hun Ming Chen established Chen Dao, or True Way, a religious movement that blended elements of Christianity, Buddhism, UFO conspiracy theories, and Taiwanese folk religion. Chen preached that God would appear on U.S. television Channel 18 on March 25, 1988, to announce that he would descend to Earth the following week in a physical form identical to Chen. The following year, he prophesied, millions of devil spirits, together with massive flooding, would result in a mass extinction of the human population. Followers could be spared by buying their way aboard spaceships, disguised as clouds, sent to rescue them. Halley's Comet panic. Halley's Comet passes by the Earth approximately every 76 years, but the nearness of its approach in 1910 created fear that it would destroy the planet, either by a celestial collision or through the poisonous gases it was rumored to contain. A worldwide panic ensued, stoked by the media and such newspaper headlines as, "Comet may kill all Earth life," says scientist. A group in Oklahoma tried to sacrifice a virgin to ward off impending doom, and bottled air became a hot commodity. The Earth probably did pass through part of the comet's tail, but with no apparent effect. In 1910, Halley's Comet's close approach to Earth triggered widespread panic due to unfounded fears about its potential impact on life. French astronomer Camille Flammarion, based on theoretical speculation about a dangerous gas in the comet's tail, predicted that it would wipe out all life on Earth, despite most other astronomers disagreeing. This led to public hysteria, with people fleeing their homes, seeking shelter, and even committing suicide. Millerism religious leader William Miller began preaching in 1831 that the end of the world as we know it would occur with the second coming of Jesus Christ in 1843. He attracted as many as 100,000 followers who believed that they would be carried off to heaven when the date arrived. When the 1843 prediction failed to materialize, Miller recalculated and determined that the world would actually end in 1844. Follower Henry Emmons wrote, "I waited all Tuesday, and dear Jesus did not come. I lay prostrate for 2 days without any pain, sick with disappointment." Joanna Southcott beginning when she was 42 years old, Joanna Southcott reported hearing voices that predicted future events, including the crop failures and famines of 1799 and 1800. She began publishing her own books and eventually developed a following of as many as 100,000 believers. In 1813, she announced that in the following year she would give birth to the second Messiah, whose arrival would signal the last days of the earth, despite being 64 years old and, as she told her doctors, a virgin. She died before a baby could be born. In 1806, a domesticated hen in Leeds, England, appeared to lay eggs inscribed with the message, "Christ is coming." Great numbers of people reportedly visited the hen and began to despair of the coming Judgment Day. It was soon discovered, however, that the eggs were not in fact prophetic messages but the work of their owner, who had been writing on the eggs in corrosive ink and reinserting them into the poor hen's body. Great Fire of London. Because the Bible calls 666 the number of the beast, many Christians in 17th century Europe feared the end of the world in the year 1666. The Great London Fire, which lasted from September 2 to September 5 of that year, destroyed much of the city, including 87 parish churches and about 13,000 houses. Many saw it as a fulfillment of the end of the world prophecy. Given such a large amount of property damage, though, the death toll of the fire was remarkably low, reportedly only 10 people, not quite the end of the world. The Great Flood. Artist's concept illustrates a solar system that is a much younger version of our own. Dusty disks, like the one shown here circling the star, are thought to be the breeding grounds of planets, including rocky ones like Earth. Dated 2005. Johannes Stoffeler, a respected German mathematician and astrologer, predicted that a great flood would cover the world on February 25, 1524, when all of the known planets would be in alignment under Pisces, a water sign. Hundreds of pamphlets announcing the coming flood were issued and set in motion a general panic. Count von Igelheim, a German nobleman, went so far as to build a 3-story ark. Though there was light rain on the day of the predicted flood, no actual flooding materialized. Montanism, a 2nd century schismatic movement of Christianity, began in Phrygia, modern Turkey. Based on the visions of Montanus, who claimed to speak under the influence of the Spirit, Montanists believed the second coming of Christ to be imminent. Many Christian communities were almost abandoned when believers left their homes and migrated to a plain between the two villages of Pepuza and Timian in Phrygia, where Montanus claimed the heavenly Jerusalem would descend to earth. Montanism was an early Christian movement of the mid to late 2nd century, founded by Montanus, a self-proclaimed prophet, and his 2 prophetesses, Priscilla and Maximilla. It was known for its emphasis on the Holy Spirit, a perceived continuation of divine revelation, and a stricter moral code. The movement was considered a heresy by the early Church and later condemned by the Council of Constantinople in 381.